Lirac. Lirac rocks. It's the morning. It's early here, very early. We've done some Lirac business before with you guys, but not too much. Not too much Lirac business. You know, there's some good producers in Lirac, but there's very few like great producers. So what happens is Lirac doesn't really get out that much. It stays in town. It is a very French wine. It is Southern Rhône, classic Southern Rhône, but kind of stays, you know, like within France, you know, supermarché, hypermarché, that kind of deal. It's always like, you know, the slough off of Châteauneuf, you know, there seems to have that vibe to it. And a lot of producers there actually are probably based in Lirac as well as Tavel. And if you're growing grapes in Tavel and Lirac, well, then the emphasis nowadays for you is all about the pink wine at Tavel, right? Less about the red wine from Lirac, and you're in the Tavel business, because that's real friggin' business, pink wine. And that's the deal. Much as we see like in Gigondas, where there's a lot of producers in Gigondas that own vineyards in Vaqueiras because they're next door neighbors, and naturally these vineyards were accumulated through decades of just being near and dear. We have the same situation in Lirac that we had to do with producers in Tavel, where the Tavel guys needed to make red wine, so they either bought Côte du Rhône or they bought Lirac. And that's kind of the deal, you know, it's not like a bunch of Châteauneuf guys went over to Lirac and said, hey, let's open up shop. Not too many have done that, actually. It's a rarity, because the Châteauneuf guys, they just went looking for more Châteauneuf. You dig? Right? That's how that works. But a couple cats have, and those are some of the ones that we featured in the past, much like the ladies at Domaine de Marcoux. They have fabulous property in Lirac. Morteray has fabulous property in Lirac. And these cats, the Brechet family at Château de Vaudieu in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, have fabulous property in Lirac. These guys are smarties. You also know them as the proprietors at Domaine des Bosquets, which is arguably the top producer in Gigondas today. So the Brechet family is on fire. I think they had the consultancy of Philippe Camby for a number of years. He taught them the path until he tragically passed away. But now they're on their own. And they're making really, really kick-ass wines. So one of the best Liracs that we know of is this guy right here. This is the Plateau des Chenes, the upper valley of oaks. That the Brechet family purchased in 2000, inside joke, that the Brechet family purchased in 2010. So they've been running this property since 2010. Now, Lirac, I don't know why Lirac hasn't gotten, well, besides the aforementioned things, it's not about quality, because you can make great wine in Lirac. The terroir is very similar to Châteauneuf. What separates it? It's about 2 kilometers away from Châteauneuf, and then you have the Rhône River. So it's west of the Rhône River. Châteauneuf is on the east side of the Rhône. Lirac and Tavel are on the west side of the Rhône. That's where you get those differentiations in ownership based on who's where. But the Brechet family said, screw that, we're going to make Lirac. And just like everything they do, they make it brilliantly. Brilliantly, brilliantly. This is fabulous, fabulous Southern Rhône wine that is actually at the level of a lot of Châteauneufs, honestly. You got the soils, you got some clay, you got some pebbles, you know, you got this whole type of thing going on. It's not like the full-on galet roulé, like the big stones, I think. It's not necessarily that soil that we see like in Le Creux and Châteauneuf, but it's very similar to many of the soil types in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. And here you have classic Rhône. It's about 3/4 Grenache, if memory serves, about 1/4 Syrah, right? The Syrah sees time in older barrels and demi-muids, barrels and larger barrels. And I think the Grenache is mostly in concrete nowadays. I don't think they wood their Grenache. If they do, they just a very small part of it, very small part of it. And the key thing here is value for money. You're getting incredible value from a true appellation in Châteauneuf, much like Vaqueiras, like Queyran, like Rasteau. And Lirac, you know, might even vibe a little more than like Queyran and Rasteau, because Lirac was actually an appellation before those appellations were, to be quite honest. So the word has always been out on Lirac, but it's just finding the right guys there to make it happen. And the Brechet family is one of those right guys, right? So we did great with the 16 of this. We sold the 19 of this, did great, 2 great vintages. And then the 22 is a really excellent wine again, the best since their 19. And yeah, just classic. You know, kirsch, cran raspberry, spices, a little bit of that sous-bois, a little touch of that undergrowth, ripe ebullient fruit from the Grenache. Ebullient. Ebulliente. Big word day today. You catch my drift. And it's funny, you know, the Syrah component here exhibits in the frame where you get a little more of an irony, like a sanguine irony aspect to the Grenache fruit in the frame. So it's less about the flavor's dead center palate with the Syrah, but it does provide this structure and this wonderful kind of earthy, savory frame to all that wonderful ripe Grenache fruit. Just complete, man. What a wine. And you know, we're digging for Rhones right now. With Châteauneuf, as we talked about in the past, going up in price, the top Gigondas wines becoming a little less available now because Gigondas has gotten hot because Châteauneuf is more expensive. Where do you go to look for a great Rhone wine? 125, 30 bucks. You know, and sure, you can find some great Côte de Rhones. We have, you have, you've bought them from us. But great appellated Southern Rhône wine at a fabulous price. It's getting harder and harder. And it used to be easier and easier, just like a lot of things. But you guys, you have one of the greatest winemaking families in the Rhone Valley, hands down. You have a very good, delicious vintage. You have top terroir, older vines, and you got a price of, I think, around $17. Boy, that is something. Need great Rhone wine in your life? Look no further. The Plateau de Chênes from Famille Bréchet, Château de Vaudieu. Oh, by the way, it's made at Château de Vaudieu's winery by Château Vaudieu's winemaking team. Come on, 17 bucks? Get out of here.